G'day, Kim Bromer. How are you, my friend?
I'm excellent, Mr. Wayne Levy. I'm unbelievable.
Listen, have you ever auditioned for a Colgate commercial? Because I mean, it's almost like you've been practicing smiling. Is that correct?
I have been practicing smiling. Um, my early days with our mentor, one of our great mentors, Mr. Mark Hughes. We had photographs with Mark, and all my photographs with Mark was I had this smile that went like Elvis Presley, well, sort of
Thank
Elvis.
you very much.
Um, and so I looked at the photos. And I said, I've got to learn how to smile. So that if I'm going to be achieving things in life, people are going to want photographs. So if they're going to want photographs, I want to make sure that my photographs look good. So yeah, I do practice smiling, although I still got that sort of Elvis, thank you very much. But
Well, Kim, I know you've done some feature films. Is that you, the guy going?
no, that's not me. I'm the one holding the white cat.
Ah, you're the one holding the white cap. Kim, today's topic for everyone who's viewing, what we do, and thank you to all our supporters. We're inundated with inquiries, and we're really thrilled that we have more and more followers coming every week listening to us because we talk real. It's real people. We're real talking to you. And I want to talk to you about something that I know that you've done many sessions on, not only, here in Australia, but around the world, and that's illusion versus reality. I mean, at the end of the day, people live in their own reality. They're in the view of their own world, and, their perception of their reality is only what matters.
Yeah, this is what you said. Your perception becomes your reality. What you think about most becomes what you draw towards you, what you become. In a lot of those things, it's sort of you know this this brain, this mind that we have, is a goal-seeking mechanism, and what you tell it, it will look for. So that's one of the reasons why we have problems also because of that thing called confirmation bias. Once somebody has a view of how something works, they only look for information that confirms that same view, and they outright reject everything else. And even look, you can't change a believing mind with intellectual arguments. It's
Yeah,
that's
I
who
love that.
they are.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're never going to win that argument about someone if they believe in something and that's what they believe in. No point in arguing. And even if you win the argument, you're going to lose anyhow because they'll lose respect for you for making them not feel good about what they believe in. So best let everyone believe in what they believe in and you believe in what you believe in and let's just get on with it. But let's say, Kim, come with me on this because this is, a lot of people I truly believe are not happy and they actually want to change. And change is a real difficult thing. I mean, you've been in the personal development industry for a long, long time. You're a best-selling author of a book. You've spoken to people not only here in Australia, but right around the world. I mean, change is not something where I'm going to get a haircut and I'm going to change, or I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to change, or I'm going to move jobs and I'm going to change. To me, that's not change. I mean, that's the external things that go on. It really has to happen within, doesn't it?
Well, it does. So you've got to work on yourself because most of us learn things via space repetition. I mean, we learnt the nine times table by repeating it over and over and over and over again. So if you're wanting to change your mindset, to change this mind, you've got to continually put in new information, and it's got to be spaced repetition. It's got to be in continuous. It can't be just once,
Yeah.
because it's like a tape recorder that is it's in that mind of ours. It can be over taped, but you need repetition. Is the
And some
mother of all
people,
skill.
yeah, and it's interesting because some people think almost like I need a holiday. I need new scenery, but new scenery and a holiday doesn't necessarily make anyone change. I mean, I've always said you take yourself with you. I mean, wherever you go, you take yourself with you. So, if you want to get and sit by the beach, but your mind is still like it's trapped in its thoughts.
Yeah. I look, I remember going to another country to go and build my business. And I was reminded that, hey, the cloud that you have here will follow you over there and will become there. Now, you might get a little bit of, reprieve initially, but it will come back.
Yeah.
So for things to change, you've got to change internally. It's affirmation, space repetition, it's community, it's the people that you hang around, all those things. And for it to really work, it needs to be small little things, and for me, you want to for something to become a habit, you want to link it to another habit that you have. For example, first thing in the morning really should be, when you work on yourself, personal development, before you look at your phone, before you look at the emails. So what do? So for me, I link my personal development to my tea. My first thing in the morning, I get up, I go to my kettle, I switch the boiling on, I make my tea, put my powder in there, and then all of a sudden put my hot water in there. And then I sit down, and then I look. So I've managed it I've clinked it to the tea. So then that then becomes a habit, because I already have the habit of a cup of tea first thing in the morning. Therefore, now the next habit is, okay, I do some reading, I look at my goals, I look at, I listen to either a podcast or something like that that's giving me positive information.
All right. So let's talk about this in a little bit of depth and let's break it down. Because for me, I mean, I've worked with cognitive behavior for a while. I've studied, I've got educated, I've got accredited in certain things. And for me, there's a big word that comes out all the time, and that's patterns. People can often go back and look at the patterns in their lives and say, well, I haven't really changed. I haven't really transformed because I'm doing the same thing that I used to do over and over again. And that becomes kind of like delusional to think you're going to change if you keep doing the same thing. So what you're talking about is changing some of the habits that you've already got, which will in turn affect some of the patterns in your life. So you're transforming yourself from where you are into something new via these new habits that you're going to give yourself. Is that what you're talking about here?
Yeah. Look, it came from a book, Psycho Cybernetics. Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon, and he wrote about a girl would come in and would have plastic surgery on her face, and she'd now become beautiful. She'd look at herself in the mirror, but she still feels ugly. The change is on the outside, but internally she still felt ugly. So you got to change that. It's that internal mind, self-image that you've got to work on. Yeah. So it's a thing that has to be done forever. I think it's not.
I think so too. I mean, like we just in the opening part of this, we rarely see people change. We can see some people evolve to find who they really are, and you always talk about turkeys to eagles school and eagles to just explain that one to everyone here who's listening.
Well, that one, yeah. You can't send your ducks to eagle school, okay? Right. Because they'll come out with the eagle hat, the eagle badge, and they'll put their arm around the first rabbit, and you go, no, you're an eagle, you're not a duck anymore. So, eagles are found. They're not trained. So if you were looking for an eagle, you need to find one. You need to recruit one. one that
Yeah, but
already
how can
is.
you become an eagle? I mean, if you're someone that wants to excel, if you're someone who wants to achieve greatness, whatever you're pursuing in your life, and you're looking at the people around you and say, wow, I'd just like to be like that person. I want to put my Superman S on and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to become my best version of myself. But then your mind kicks in with those doubtful thoughts, the fears, the impatience, everything that says, I can't do that. And then all of a sudden you lower your standards back to, like you say, your self-image again. So how do you overcome that? Is it possible, Kim, to transform yourself into greatness?
Well, it is if you want to. We can't make somebody want
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
They've got to want to. They've got to make that decision that I'm going to change. And it's only when they make that decision that I'm going to change. And it's likened to when somebody says, you're going to, I'm going to succeed no matter what. I'm going to either go underground, go around, or climb the mountain. You're going to see me at the top of the mountain waving the flag of success or dead at the bottom. I'm going to do this or I'm going to die.
yeah.
They've got to make that declaration, basically. And they've got to do it, but then they've got to work on themselves, And Jim Rohn said, stand guard at the door of your mind for other people putting in negativity, but you also got to stand at the guard of your mind for what you're telling yourself
Yeah.
internally. And you've got to catch yourself. You've got to catch yourself. You've got to change your languaging, because sometimes I've gone out in the beginning and I said, oh, I can't afford this. Well, I can't afford this. So therefore the mind says a lack mentality. Oh, you've got to say, I can't afford this yet, or I choose to afford this when I want to have it. So you got to be careful. You got to check everything that you're saying to yourself. Um, and it's not an easy exercise. It's an exercise to work on continually. And the best thing is to read books. Think and Grow Rich is really the book that actually has a lot of that in there on changing yourself and becoming who you want to become.
Well, when we talk about that, Kim, let me just hold you up here because I think this is a really important point. Reading, listening, watching, that's fantastic, but it doesn't cut it without action. So you've got to actually, okay, like you say, write it down. Is that what you want? And no matter what, I'm going to do it. No matter what, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to think about doing this all day long. No matter what, this is going to happen. And you can have all the affirmations, but at the end of the day, if you don't get off your behind and get into action or production or make some movement towards where you want to go, you're delusional as well, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. You become a motivated idiot. Basically. It's everything comes back to an action plan.
Yeah.
Because unless you actually do something, nothing's going to happen. You can stand on a chair shouting affirmations, or rubbing a crystal, or standing a pyramid, hoping for things to change. But you've actually got to go and do something. And I talk about it in my book, but it has to be an action plan. It has to be incremental, small little steps so that they become easy. So these are the steps that you have to do each and every day. That ends up creating the compound effect. And if you understand compound interest, the same thing happens with compound over time, the action that you put in place. Nobody becomes a success overnight. You see all these stars and everybody else, wow, they became a success overnight. No, it was the last 10 or 20 years that they've been putting into that or practicing for that role or that success that they've had.
Yeah. And I think most people in life, apart from those who, maybe get lucky, and I say like there are a few people who do win the lottery and they get lucky or something falls into place and that's luck. And fantastic and hallelujah and congratulations. If the good Lord wants to give you that bit of luck, fantastic. But for the vast majority of everyone, Kim, growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Change affects your ego. It's got to like your ego's there to protect you to say, just chill out, take it easy. You don't need to be uncomfortable. You don't need to stretch yourself. You don't need to go through some pain. That's what the ego says. So you got to challenge your ego to say, now come on. If I really want this for myself or my family or my future, I've got to become stretched. I've got to become I hate using the word uncomfortable because for me, success doesn't necessarily have to be uncomfortable if you enjoy what you're doing. You just got to persist and act upon it, consistently. But for the vast majority of people, it is uncomfortable to become successful. You've got to be willing to go through some pain.
Yeah. Well, you've got to do something. Everything comes back to it's the law of nature. It's that same sort of thing. It's like the story of the cocoon and the caterpillar coming out, or the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. If you help it, it will not survive because it won't have the strength to get through it. Same as going and exercising. You've got to go through to build muscle. You've actually got to break the muscle. You've got to so that it grows and becomes bigger. So no pain, no gain. And
From
it's
the
quite
struggle
true.
comes the
You've
strength.
got to
Yeah.
go through those processes,
Yeah.
but it's a price to pay, and there's a price, or there's the price of regret if you
Oof.
don't do it, and
Ooh.
that's a lot heavier than the actual price of doing a little bit every day.
So I think if for those people who are listening to this, watching this, contemplating anything, I think the reality is you have to be honest with yourself first and really look at yourself and not blaming the world around you. It's like I'm in this situation because of them, because of it, because of those circumstances, because of the government, because of this, and that blame game, you've got to be honest with yourself, Kim, and say, well, hang on. If it's meant to be, it's got to be up to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and you've got to just realize that sometimes it just rains on your parade.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I have a lot of issues. I'm wanting to achieve certain things in my life and my time at the moment, and I keep on getting these little roadblocks and obstacles that are coming up, not because of my doing, but it looks like what's going on, and it's when this happens, you've got to go. I sometimes liken it to, it's like success and failure are sitting up in a cloud somewhere, and failure says, you watch, I'm going to trip him up, and he's going to give up, and success goes, no, 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 you watch, he's going to jump over it, he's going to be able to achieve it, and sometimes you've got to go, hey guys, leave me alone, stop it, will you? So that's going to happen in your life. You've just got to learn to go, hey, that's fantastic. What am I supposed to learn? Who am I going to become out of this? Or do I need to pivot? Because sometimes by pivoting creates new opportunity.
Yeah. So, Kim, in summary, I mean, life rarely lays out that red carpet between you and you trying to achieve your goals. But if there was one thing that someone could do just to instigate that process, just one thing from this little episode that they're watching with us, what would you suggest someone do? Just one thing.
One thing, look, read 30 minutes every day, or, just at least in the morning or at night before you go to bed. Uh, or take it down to maybe 5 pages in the morning, 5 pages at night, just to get that subconscious, that information going in of positive information. By the way, so choosing the right books, of course, you don't want to be reading rubbish because if you're reading that, that's what's going in. So that's really and
But that's what you talk about, the reprogramming your belief.
yeah.
So just trying to like you say, that most people have already downloaded everything at a certain age. They've already downloaded, and that's their belief, and that's who
Yeah.
they think they are, and they're just doing time. I used to say, born, die age 20, buried age 70, because you've learned it all, and then you're just doing time until your time's over. But you can change if you change your belief. And
Yeah.
that's hard, Kim, but you can reprogram your mind.
Well, you can. It's just needs repetition. And just on that, it's the book I suggest to everybody is Think and Grow Rich. Read the book, but don't just read it once. Read it again and again and again. And I remember my mentor, Jim Ryan, said, "Have you read Think and Grow Rich?" I said, "Yes." He said, "How many times?" I said, "Once." He said, "Well, I've read it 13 times." Wow, that means that I've got to read it more. And the more that you read it, the more that you'll get out of it, because you'll be in a different place when you're reading it the second or the third or the fifth time. You will be a different person reading it. So different things will come out of it. So my suggestion is not only reading it, underlining it, but then put some action steps of what you're going to do out of that chapter or that part that resonates with you, to implement that in your life. And once you start implementing it and practicing it, and then my suggestion is then teach it. The more that you help other people get what they want, you'll get much more of what you want.
It's so funny to talk about that because the reality is I've got a journal here which I'm going to hold up. And I know you've got a whole series of journals, and I've got journals everywhere. This journal I'm going to read is dedicated to the work and study of Think and Grow Rich. So I've got a whole journal of just information that I've just taken out of the book that I've journalized that now sits on my desk. One book just dedicated to that one book that you're talking about, Think and Grow Rich. It's kind of interesting, I think the mind, and this is a different topic, but I'm just going to mention it, is the biggest fault of human beings. I mean, we've got a brain that, tells us things, but then we've got a mind that creates so much confusion and so much problems for us. And, like the reality of we become so confused with what our brain says, oh, you want success, you want happiness. And then your mind just kicks in. And it's kind of like, how do I get rid of my mind's chatter? How do I get out of my mind, lose my mind and come to my senses? And that's a whole different topic. But the reality is, the mind is only there to trick you. And the mind is not real. The mind doesn't exist. The brain exists, but the mind is something that we've created from our brain. So think and grow rich. Play those mind games. Kim, thank you for spending some time with me again, as always. What's next, my friend?
My pleasure. And look, share this recording with somebody that you like, somebody that's in your circle of influence, and hopefully they will then be able to work with you to help you achieve the things that you want. That's number one. To subscribe to our channel so that you got any new information coming out at any time. And we are looking for a continued group of people that want to get continued information and maybe be able to ask us questions. So we're looking at an email list. So maybe just put a note there that you'd like to be involved in our email list, and we'll get back to you. So thank you, Wayne, and looking forward to our next session.
And you keep smiling, Kim.